Hey, spilled milkers, welcome back to Go Fork Yourself, our weekly Ask Me Anything that takes place here on Substack. My name is Andrew Zimmern. I am not in a hotel room, and I'm wearing a t-shirt that I'm sure you have seen before, but I wouldn't necessarily call it overplayed here. So much to get to on today's episode. So, let's dive right in. Lots of talk about the New York Times restaurants we're loving right now, or however they phrased it, column that came out last week. This happens every year. They send some of the best food writers and palates in the business, some of whom are personal friends of mine, out on the road. They visit lots of different states. Brett Anderson, formerly of the New Orleans Times-Picayune, whose father was governor of Minnesota, actually came here, I say back home, and gave two suggestions for places that the Times is loving right now, or they call it our favorite restaurants right now. What they did was very smart. They did not call it the best new restaurants. They didn't call it 50 best restaurants in America, despite it being labeled as such 100 different places in the press. If I had a dime for every time I saw someone, we even had a local food pundit who was a friend of mine, declared it as, the New York Times best new restaurants, and Vinay made it, and now I'm blanking on the other restaurant that made it. They mentioned Diane's place and all the rest of it. It was wonderful, but it wasn't best. It wasn't best. And I think more places should take a cue from what the New York Times did. Because what the New York Times did is they made a great argument for, hey, some of these restaurants are new, some of these restaurants are old. They're just our favorite restaurants right now. And that's a wonderful discussion point. Now, when you're left off of a list, you hate it. When you're on it, they couldn't have been wiser or more prescient. But I will say, it is it's always an interesting take, in my opinion. There was one restaurant, however, that really caught my eye, and that was Somek in Boston. If I had to take a vote right now in my audience of one, me, and I was racking my own brain, I would probably say that Vodor in New York, now that Lee Hansen and Riyad Nasir have taken over, and Somek, Jamie Bissonet's new triumvirate of experiences in one tiny little spot, are probably my two favorite new restaurants of 2024. Le Vodor has gotten just ridiculous amounts of press. Classic restaurant. My father used to take me there when I was younger. And who else to take over a restaurant like that and reinterpret so many of those classic, dishes than Lee and Riyad, who also have Franchette and Le Roc, and just two of the best chefs working today in America. I would just assume eat their food as my last meal as just about anyone's. They have a sense of restraint and incredible technique and fabulous flavors. And, I think they run smart restaurants too. When Franchette opened up and I went there for the first time and I saw those little bites that cost $1, $2, $3 that would sometimes come 2 or 3 on a plate, or as many as you wanted, as a way just to nosh away at stuff. I just thought, what a brilliant idea. Yeah, I want little triangle pieces of toast with house-cured anchovies on it. What a perfect way to start a meal, especially when they're that good. Somek, Jamie Bissonet's restaurant, serves Korean food. He actually spent time in Korea learning about Korean food. He was first turned on to it as a chef, but when he met his now wife, who is Korean, and his future mother-in-law and started exploring those flavors, he realized that this was his calling. And I went in, I ate there a couple months ago. I over-ordered and had one of the best meals that I can recall. Just pitch perfect every bite. The banchan alone is worth going for. I ordered 2 or 3. Out came like 12. They sent me everything on the menu. I immediately ordered a bowl of rice and just housed everything in front of me. All those little plates of pickled and fermented things that make Korean food so absolutely delicious. Then Jamie took me on the tour of the place. Down in the basement, it's kind of like a hidden Japanese sushi bar. However, only 18 seats. They don't do any omakase, none of that kind of stuff. You just, whatever's freshest in the Boston seafood markets makes its way to the restaurant, and their sushi chef, who I think Jamie found in Hawaii, if I'm remembering correctly, just does a stunning job, puts out absolute world-class Japanese sushi bar experience from a single counter where you must sit. There's no tables there. I should also point out that Somek is very long and narrow. There are a couple seats in front of the kitchen as it extends from its closed portion to its open portion, and that counter goes all the way to the front door, and then against the wall behind your back, if you're sitting at the counter, are a couple of deuces, but essentially one long linear space. The sushi bar, one long linear space. On the other side of Somek, through a hidden door, is the bar, which is as dark and moody and a greater place to hang out as I have ever seen. There are no tables. There are 18, 19 seats at the bar. So once it's full, it's full. And Jamie spins vinyl there. By the way, newest hot trend among chefs, Sean Brock's doing it too, is a spin your own vinyl spot, right? So Jamie can go in there, spin records, and at the bar where he's spinning vinyl, you can order from a bar menu that has snacky food from Somek, his Korean restaurant, or from the sushi bar downstairs. If that isn't the smartest idea, just smart, like Vaudor. It's just smart, wonderful, interpretive cuisine in that French continental style. Anyway, those are enough said about that. Article in The Atlantic about the number of food and travel shows that are now hosted by, quote, late career Hollywood white guys. And it's a wonderful article. We'll have a link here. It starts out and references Bourdain, of course, because you have to have your clickbait there. But then it goes on to talk about all the different, from Conan O'Brien on down, all these older white guys in Hollywood who now want to have travel shows or food and travel shows. Quite frankly, the more the merrier. We're coming out of a place in our linear history over the last 5-6 years where those shows have not been popular and nobody has been making new ones. So I'm thrilled in the main that they're back. And you want to know something? If people like the person who's making the food and travel show, they're going to keep watching the show. It's that simple. You either connect with that person or you don't. Chefs and restaurant owners break down why restaurants are so expensive right now. And it starts with the question, what is hospitality worth to you? And what follows is an eater column, just bringing it up here, that is put together by Jaya Saxena, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, whose stuff I normally really like a lot. And she basically gets restaurateurs in their own voice to explain what the issues are and why it's so much more expensive to eat out. And quite frankly, a lot of these chefs, I disagree with where they're going with it. It's their restaurant, their deal. but let me just explain something. The most important aspect too, I would have liked to have, I guess for me, I just wanted a little more actual journalism out of the columnist, because I think you all deserve to know some of the facts. Food has never been more expensive than it is right now. Labor, the cost of putting people into your restaurants, because we have such low unemployment and because other industries are paying more and people are finding jobs that are more available. And COVID kind of took 25% of our workforce and they just said, I'm switching careers. Those three things add up to making it much, much more difficult to open restaurants. And I would venture to say, and this is a radical opinion, is it possible that we have more restaurants out there than ever before, which we do kind of, and do we need fewer seats? Not in each restaurant, I'm talking about in totality, community by community. I think that might be the case here in Minneapolis where I live. I know that that's the case in New York City. I think through attrition, we're gonna lose 10, 15% of restaurants because people don't wanna go there. Because as Ms. Saxena says, what is it worth to you to eat out? How much of a value do you place on it, right? Because what used to be the $20 chicken breast saute is now the $30 chicken breast saute. That what used to be the $14 pasta is now the $21 pasta. Restaurants are finally waking up and realizing they should charge what it costs to put the plate on the food and pay all their bills and actually make it a real business. Yes, restaurateurs are still passionate. They still want, I mean, look, I'm still in the food business at Patty and Frank's, not necessarily to make money, but because I love having people come to our spot and have a burger and a hot dog and some fries and say, wow, that was great. I still love the idea of bringing pleasure to people in the hospitality space through food. Anyway, you should read this article and think about it for yourself. And, you know, despite the fact that, you know, inflation is coming down, jobs are going up, economy is doing okay, if you looked at a lot of other indicators, things are not good, and they all have to do with our food system. And I think our food system is not in great shape, because I think from a future forward, you know, aspect, with our climate crisis, with ongoing conflicts around the world, food prices are not going to come down. They're going to keep going up. And the cost of cooking them and preparing them is going to continue to go up. And I think we all have to get used to that. Or not participate in those restaurants anymore. You can vote with your wallet or your feet or both. Here's another good one. What do you think about artificial intelligence in recipes? It's a cool article from NPR. Charlotte Engrave, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, writes a decent column titled AI Can Generate Recipes That Can Be Deadly, and she references a request over ChatGPT that someone had for a recipe, and it came back with, you know, mixing ammonia and a couple other things, and it would have killed someone. And yes, I get it. That was, I assume, fact-checked, NPR, good news organization. That's more of a one-off, right? Most of the time they're just giving, you know, shitty brownie recipes back at you if you don't have a culinarian interpreting it. However, artificial intelligence, in a matter of months, with the feedback coming from people about what's good and what isn't good, will start nailing those things. And I think it's a really interesting exercise. I mean, isn't it just a matter of, talking to one of my colleagues today, isn't it just a matter of time before we see someone on Food Network with a show called like, who made this recipe? And you don't know if it was a real chef, real cook, or it was an AI recipe. Food bloggers are especially not happy with AI recipes because it's putting a lot of them out of business, especially the ones that are just doing easy rote sort of sheet pan suppers and stuff like that don't have a personal voice in the sense of a style of cuisine or something that they're trying to represent. The people who actually have something new to say or something good to contribute to the food discourse in America are always going to have a voice, right? AI can't replicate that today. But on the flip side, that's right. So a lot of those people who have like easy peasy weeknight suppers are being, are losing their jobs because AI is replacing them. I think marching hand in hand in that is something, last article I want to talk about that I saw in the Washington Post. Knife tricks and catchphrases, how chef influencers try to stand out. So there's a great tale in here about Olivia Tiedemann, who gives the finger to everyone at some point during her recipe, who I absolutely think is great because, giving someone the finger is not enough of a gimmick to get me to keep coming back, but her food is good. At least it looks good. I like her attitude and I like her playlist. The music is good. So I continue to watch what she puts out there. There are other people, the cucumber salad guy, slices a cucumber, puts it in a jar, adds different things. At a certain point, you're going to run out of salads, and I'm just not interested in that. Owen Hahn, sandwich maker, great guy. Always has, the sandwich and the sound is up, punched up on all of his videos so you can hear the cutting and the scraping and the biting and the slicing. But at the end of the day, he makes interesting sandwiches. And most of the time I leave there going, oh, I would eat that. Or, oh, maybe I should try something like that, but instead of the blank, I'm going to use blank. The point is, if you are on TikTok, which I think this focuses on TikTok and IG, this article, if you have something unique and interesting to say and your food is good and it's an interesting take, the cream will rise to the top. If you're just trying to take, do what the trends are, like, the chopped sandwich where you take, everything that should go on an Italian hero and chop it up, or everything that should go on a bagel and chop it up, or if you're like cucumber guy, I don't think you're gonna be lasting long or be successful. Pasta Queen is successful because people like her personality, but she's doing pasta recipes all the time that for the main look to me like they would be delicious. I have not eaten a pasta dish from her hand. However, I've met her a lot. She's an acquaintance. I like her. I watch everything she puts out because at the end of the day, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's nice pasta. Same reason I watch Pasta Grannies, right? It's a good account. It's interesting. I learned something. It's provocative, right? I don't care about all that other stuff. Links are all there for you to take a look at. More on those other, on new articles, of course, every single week, what piques my interest. On to your questions. Diane writes, hi, Andrew. I'm planning a South Pacific cruise, Tahiti, Bora Bora, Moorea, and would like suggestions on must-try foods. Anything that comes out of the ocean. Anything. And the closer to the water the restaurant is, and the happier the people are, and the happier the employees are that are working there, most importantly, go. I think it's much easier than trying to decide on what foods, because those countries, or those islands rather, they grow a lot of fruit. They grow they have good agriculture system. They have a lot of local seafood that doesn't get exported out of the island. And you can eat all those delicious little reef fish on the grill, and you can have all the local fruit and veg that you can. And if you stay in that lane, you will be fine. Diane writes, oh, she had a second question. What's the difference between livermush and scrapple? Oh my gosh. I am from Philadelphia, where scrapple was a breakfast food back in the day. Yeah, scrapple often has flour put into it, sometimes cornmeal. It's always made from the head. Livermush includes, and organs. Livermush is more organ facing and always has, I believe, cornmeal in it. I judged and attended the year one of Bizarre Food. So 2006, I was down in Shelby, North Carolina for the annual Livermush Festival. Livermush, I mean, everyone knows scrapple on the East Coast. Livermush in North Carolina and in that county, I tried it. They serve it on white bread. The mayor of Shelby told me, have it with yellow mustard and grape jelly. He was right. It's awesome. It's sliced and pan crisped, just like scrapple typically is. And I thought to myself, wow, this is really fantastic. And on the way out of town, I stopped at a local supermarket, small roadside supermarket. We're in a tiny little town, so it looked like a gas station retrofitted to be a local supermarket, but it had fresh vegetables and meats and things like that, just very small. And I walked up and I asked him for some livermush, and the guy behind the counter said, huh? It's so localized. We had crossed the county line. People outside of that region just don't know what livermush is. But I would encourage everyone to go down to Shelby, North Carolina and attend their Livermush Festival. Sami writes, Andrew, I saw you tweeted about Survivor. Yes, I'm watching season 47 avidly right now. I have not missed a single season of Survivor. I am a Survivor-ophile, Survivor lover of all things Survivor-ish. She said she's also disappointed that Jon got kicked out so early. I mean, oh my God. How great would it have been through every episode to have Jon still there. Are you a big Survivor? Yes. What are your favorite non-food reality shows? Oh my gosh. I'm not much for like the games per se, like The Floor or something like that. I like the actual survival stuff, like Alone. I love Alone. It's like a fireplace. It's quiet. I can fall asleep to it. I get sucked into it. I love Survivor. I'm trying to think of what other reality shows I watch that aren't food related. Those are probably the two. Yes, those are the two. Alyssa writes, how can I cook garlic with lemon without the garlic turning blue-green? Thanks. It doesn't have anything to do with the lemon. If you slice into garlic and you see a green core in the middle, that's where the plant is growing out of each clove. And if you planted that, you'd actually get a new garlic plant growing. Sometimes it's already turned green. Sometimes it's white and you can just see a faint outline of a circle. I cook with just posted a recipe just today cooked a recipe today. We're just finished wrapping season 5 of Wild Game Kitchen, which is fun, exciting. I hope you're enjoying Field to Fire. But if you're cooking something with garlic and you add lemon, it's not going to turn blue-green. It's already sprouted, and then I think almost any acid will turn it blue-green. So, and a lot of people say don't use sprouted garlic. If it's the only one I have, yeah, I'll use it. If it's not, I'll throw it out. V writes regarding Field to Fire, will you be doing any bow hunting by chance? And I hope everyone watches Field to Fire, and I hope we make another season of Field to Fire, and yeah, we'll be doing bow hunting. Danny writes, what do you think are the most important issues for the restaurant industry in the election. Wow, that is a great, great question. I think state by state and federally, we have to figure out what we're going to do with service charges. We shouldn't have it be different in one state than the other. It's confusing the consumer. I think there needs to be a national referendum on this. I think we need to have a food czar, cabinet level position, a secretary of food, and take all the other little bits of food out of USDA and out of ag and out of all these other different areas and just put it all in one place so that there is one agency that deals with all things food. Food represents such a monstrous part of our GDP. I think food deserves it. I think food stamps, which by the way is net positive for our economy. It's one of those things that for every dollar the federal government gives out in food stamps, I think it's like $1.26 comes back into the local economy. We have more people post-COVID that have fallen beneath the poverty line. We should be increasing what we do for our brothers and sisters out there who are on government assistance. But I think I would expand restaurant industry and talk about just food in general for a second. Hunger in America it's no longer an embarrassment. It's no longer criminal. It's a genocidal act. We're the richest, most successful nation in the history of the world. I love this country. I am as big a patriot as anyone I know. What does it say? What does it say about us that there are hungry children in America, as an example, just taking one small piece of the demographic, or hungry seniors, take the other end of the life spectrum, and we don't believe in making sure they're fed. Now, the reason I think it's genocidal is because we have the ability to feed people, we have the money, we have the distribution systems, we have the infrastructure, and there's actually a number associated with this. When I was at the Biden conference on hunger, nutrition, and health, along with 300 of the most important people in food, I was lucky, blessed to be invited. I spoke to Rosa DeLauro, Democrat of Connecticut, who used to be the head of the Appropriations Committee in the House. And I asked her, I said, what's the number on solving childhood hunger? And she said about $17 billion, which is 0.0026 of our annual federal budget. It's a rounding error. We have the skill and the ability, we just don't have the will to feed kids. That's horrifying. That's horrifying. And by the way, that number comes down to about 14 billion per year, because the first year it costs about 3 billion more because you have to put some more equipment into schools, so we're actually cooking healthy food for people. And if you don't believe me, just hop onto Brigade, BRIGAID, Brigade's website, run by my friend Dan Giusti, who has proven over the years that you can take school budgets from several different states and, working within those guidelines, put healthy, nutritious food on kids' plates. And we have 9 states in America that already consider it to be a right and offer free school breakfasts and lunches for kids. Minnesota is one of them, I'm very proud to say, thanks to our governor and lieutenant governor. So I think we all need to say, and by the way, 2020 and 2024 were the first 2 presidential elections where food was ever mentioned or brought up. Once during a debate in 2020 between the 2 candidates, and now because Kamala Harris is really, really interested in food and a food-driven person. She loves to cook. Has a very rich, deep, abiding love for food. It's come up a whole bunch of times, and I'm very happy about that. Look, getting back to restaurants, why not give them a special health insurance program to enroll their employees in? How's that for a good idea for restaurants? Danny writes, Chris writes, I love your wild game cooking shows. I'm trying to replicate your outdoor cooking area in Minnesota. It's amazing. Can you post a video showing your outdoor cooking pit? I will. I'll do that next week. I'll go up and I'll take a video. A lot of it is getting wrapped up for the season. But I have 2 different ceramic grills. I have a actual fire pit that I can put a tripod grill over. I have a grilling system built into my fireplace right over there. I know, pretty cool. I'll show that to you when I'm doing all the other stuff. I have several different small grills that I use when I'm flipping hamburgers. And then I have that incredible grilling system that's more out of the churrasco and parrillada playbook that's made by the people at Fuegos in Texas that I just adore and I'm addicted to. And I will show it all to you in a video. Janet writes, we're on a Viking River Grand Europe. Well, Janet, I am sorry because she's asking for recommendations in Budapest, Hungary, because she's on a cruise and stopping there right now. But these questions are 2 weeks old because I was away and shooting TV and away on a business trip. And so we missed a week on this. But I will get Budapest Recs up for all of you later on. And here's a nice comment from Mary Jo. As soon as I became old enough to vote, I registered and it has never expired. Additionally, I've worked at the polls for many years. Good for you. I found it to be both fun and educational. I would recommend being a poll worker to everyone. Thank you for the promotion of both registering and voting. She's referencing a sign I put on my stories about just how important it is. I'm not telling you who to vote for. This is not red or blue. This is not left or right. Everyone needs to vote. Everyone needs to vote. Full stop. Full stop. I mean, I hate to put such a fine point on it, but, historically, Americans have, fought and died for our right to vote, for our great experiment in democracy that this incredible republic, this idea of America represents. And I think we owe it to all those who serve, past and present, and to our fellow citizens and brothers and sisters to vote. Anyway, on that note, see you next week on Go Fork Yourself. And by the way, go fork yourself.